We're currently seeing a lot of developers turning their backs on their IP and instead of making games based on existing movie franchises. For example, his examples are IO Interactive is working on that James Bond game, Machine Games is working on an Indiana Jones game, Crystal Dynamics was just released Marvel, Sucker Punch for Spider-Man, I think he means Insomniac, and then Respawn with a Star Wars game, which hopefully they're making another one at this point. He says, I don't know about you guys, but I find this trend disappointing. These developers have proven that they have the ability to come out with totally original, never before seen ideas, but instead, they're going to make yet more stories that we've likely heard 1,000 times before in worlds that we already are all too familiar with. Do I really want another Star Wars story or another James Bond story? I don't want to sound too pessimistic, but I really feel as though this is a tragic waste of the talent and potential of these studios. I don't understand why these amazing creative teams would limit themselves to the two worlds with pre-established rules and restrictions. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, that's a whole lot to take in, isn't it? Well, I mean, new IPs are scary. There's a lot of risk involved in new IPs. Whereas a known brand, the power of that in the marketplace is immense, just absurd. Like if you make a Star Wars product, you're gonna sell units. It doesn't matter if it's garbage. You're gonna move units. Um, you make a new IP, you don't know if it's gonna be hot or not, right? You can run
Yeah,
all the focus groups.
look at Respawn with Titanfall 2, which is widely acclaimed. People freaking love that game, and rightfully so. But I bet there's not even a fraction of the sales that it got compared to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, I think you guys are highlighting a good reason like why they make licensed games.
Mhm.
But do you guys personally like that? Would you like in a perfect world, would you like to see all studios just work on their own original thing? Or do you like having an occasional IP game?
Let me look at this from an optimistic point of view, an optimistic way to look at this. Uh, Utilizing those big brands, leveraging those big names, is likely to make the product a success, and hence the company will have more money to chase their own projects with if that is something they desire. Again, that's an optimistic viewpoint and
Well,
may not be entirely accurate, but that's I'm trying to look at it with in a good way.
but here's the thing also is all of those examples that the listener wrote in have recently or are currently supporting an original creation. Respawn has Apex.
Yep.
IO just put out Hitman last month, and what was the other one? Oh, Insomniac has Ratchet and Clank coming out in a couple of months.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's like, all right, well, abandon everything to make Spider-Man and James Bond. It's like there's still things coming along. I mean, I know Crystal Dynamics seem to have been pulled off Tomb Raider, the third one, in order to make the Avengers game, but I don't know if they're exclusively going to be doing that. And that's the big project for Square Enix. The fact that they got the Marvel license, they want to put one of the top studios on it, so it makes sense that they would have pulled them off.
Right.
I would like to see them do something new, but I don't think it's the end of the world if they do something like this occasionally, like alternate between like licensed property and other other original ideas.
I mean, the other thing, the other argument where it breaks down for me is just, the other games that those studios are working on are also like established IP at this point. Tomb Raider, that franchise is super old. That's a mega franchise at this point too. It's not like it's a brand new idea. Or Ratchet and Clank, same thing. The franchise has been around for like 20 years at this point. And I like those franchises, so I want to see more of them. But I mean, in terms of like, hey, don't work on this, James Bond game. Give me this other franchise that is also really old. It just originated in video games, so that makes it better. I don't know.
And
Oh yeah, and you can't do apples to apples on a gaming franchise compared to the greater universe franchise. Like you look at Tomb Raider, you can't put that step to step in pace with Marvel or Star Wars, right? Those are giga brands that just eat and swallow the world whole. So
But you could put Pokemon up against any of those.
yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, Pokemon's huge.
I
Yeah, I kind of wonder. Like, I mean, do you think James Bond is bigger than Tomb Raider at this point?
I don't have the information. That's a good question.
I don't know. They could be comparable at this point, to that point. But what I would personally like, I like a mix. I love that Spider-Man game that Insomniac made. I'm glad that they have it. I love Jedi Fallen Order. I'm glad that Respawn made that. But I don't want them to solely work on existing IPs. It'd be great to
Agreed.
let those studios continue to make their own original stuff, which I think they are getting to do.
Which Insomniac did with Spider-Man, because that told a pretty original story in that, or I wasn't expecting it. I think the other thing too, why this doesn't bother me as much in games versus movies, which, you know, I think the trying to kickstart a franchise is killing the film industry, but that's another topic. Sorry, I just read Martin Scorsese's essay. But I think the difference is in video games, these are creators who also have a platform of gameplay and can put together, you know, diverse, awesome feeling games, even if there is a familiar backdrop of Star Wars, of Marvel. Like, not even considering like storytelling. I think, like, you know, Spider-Man has some of the best locomotion in games, and feeling swinging around that city is incredible. The sneaking and Knives Out mystery style gameplay of Hitman is incredible. You can't tell me that wouldn't work perfectly in a James Bond game. I think gameplay separates the two in a way that makes these games feel more fresh than just like, oh, there's Spy Kids 8 coming out. You know, when are they going to move on from that? I don't know why I drew from Spy Kids, but I think gameplay is differentiates enough to be I'm okay with it.
And also, you could say the same thing about the film industry as well, where it's like, or television. It's like, all right, we have all these amazing directors and everything working on Star Wars, working on Marvel, working on DC stuff. It's like, all right, well, that's what gets people to the theaters, you know? Like, if somebody came out, like Ryan Johnson, you said Knives Out. It's like, you know, if he came out with an original movie, it's not going to get the traction of if he was doing a Star Wars movie, you know? Like, people are going to go see Star Wars pretty much regardless of what's going on in it.
Yeah, which makes me sad, because Knives Out is better than Last Jedi.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I like both of those films, so I'm not gonna. Knives Out is great. Wasn't there talk of him doing more Knives Out? Like,
Yeah,
he's going to turn into a
And
trilogy or something?
it's going to be focused on Benoit Blanc, which another franchise. Here we go.
Yeah. So in 20 years, we'll be talking about the Benoit Blanc. I don't know how you say that.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about the LeBlanc franchise.
Yeah, the Matt LeBlanc franchise.
Uh huh.